End of the day.
I
Just
know.
chill.
I understand.
Ooh. Mm.
Okay, we are live.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, welcome everybody to this virtual meeting. I'm going to call the Governance and Personnel Committee meeting of the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority for Thursday, December 11th into order. First thing we're going to do, because I do believe we have a quorum. In fact, yeah, we absolutely have a quorum. First thing I want to do is I will make a motion for the approval of the minutes from the November 13th meeting. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
That motion was made second. I think that was by Chair Jefferson. Discussion on that motion. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, so I'm gonna do this backwards from here on out. If there's anyone who opposes the motion, say aye. That would make it go a little bit faster, actually. So I didn't see that, though. I think I got that was I think it was a 5-0 vote for an aye on that one. It's a 4-0, 1, 2, 3, 4-0. I'm sorry, 4-0. That had to be 4-0. That's 5-0. That's five. I was right. It's 5-0. So what we have to do now is to do adoption of the legislative priorities. Before we just, Miss Baynard, I think what I would before we go to legislative priorities and adopt those, what I'd rather have first is drop down to the discussion item. And if you and Delegate Sewell can give us any information about the General Assembly, I know there was a lot of things that happened since last we met. So anything that we need to know before we adopt anything, if we can know that. I also know that there will be some special elections that are coming, both in two that will impact Northern Virginia, one in Prince William County, one in Fairfax County, as far as I know, in the seat of the most wonderful Candy King and David Bulova. And so I don't know how those special elections will fall, and if there's something we should know about all those things, especially as they impact Northern Virginia. And so if you can help us know those things, and so that we know, who we're talking to or that type of thing, who we should call and bring up to date and all those things. So let's do that first and then go back to the action item.
Delegate Sewell, I'll start off and let me know if I forget anything. Chair Randall, we do have at this point 4 special elections to fill what are some openings for Senator Hashmi, who is now our Lieutenant Governor-elect, Delegate Mike Jones out of Richmond, who is running to fill Senate District 15. That election is January 6th. Yes. As is the election for Delegate Jones's seat, House District 77. So on January 6th, we know there are at least 2 actual elections taking place.
And that's the seat of Senator Hashmi, which is the Senate seat, Senate 15, and the seat of Delegate Mike Jones.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. I think I'm sorry, Mike. I think I sent this a little convoluted.
Okay. All right. No. I just want to make sure, because those districts are not districts that I'm familiar with. So that's why I'm just making sure.
Right. And then because of 2 recent appointments by Governor-elect Spanberger, there actually now are 2 open House seats and seats that represent Northern Virginia. Delegate Munden King for House District 23rd, primarily Prince William County, and then House District 11, represented by Delegate David Bulova. And so Speaker Scott, once he gets the official resignation of both of those individuals, will then set the date for the special election, ideally, and I think there's enough time for them to occur before the General Assembly convenes on January 14th. So we don't yet know, at least I have not seen details of what the candidate selection process is going to be for either of those seats, but I'm sure those decisions will be made sweet pretty quickly.
So for the purpose of this committee, I'm more concerned about 23 and 11 because 23 and 11 fall in the Northern Virginia transportation area discussion. So those are, I mean, I'm concerned about all of them, but none of this is going to change the majority party in the House.
Correct.
So it's not so much, it's not a political question. It is, we, you know, we always need to know in Northern Virginia who's sitting in these seats so we know who to go talk to right away, bring up to speed as fast as possible about things that are concerning to NVTA, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
There,
I do know that on 23, I don't know about 11, but I do know on 23 that that whoever ends up the two people who will run for that seat, the actual election will take place on the 13th. And Delegate Sewell, remind me, you all get sworn in or resworn on the 14th, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
On the
So
14th.
somebody will be in that seat by the time they get sworn in.
I cannot say that. But
Well, they're in an election.
I trust that. I was going to say, I trust your judgment. I'll just simply add that, and Ms. Baynard and Chair Randall, please feel free, that a writ for a special election to fill a vacancy will have to be presented in order for the process to begin.
Right.
And that has not transpired.
happened, yeah.
Okay.
There's some
Okay,
paperwork to get through first. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I thought that was happening today, actually. So maybe I was mistaken about that.
The other
okay.
interesting thing is we're actually losing two Northern Virginians who chair pretty important committees in the General Assembly. Delegate Mundan King chairs County, Cities, and Towns, and Delegate Bulaba chairs General Laws.
Okay.
So there's going to be some shuffling on committees anyway, but you now
Right.
have two committees which will have
Sure.
Speaker will name new chairs to.
And those are important committees to us as well. It's obviously transportation is a really important committee for us, but also those are important committees for us as well. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. And we do know who is the secretary designee for transportation.
Yes.
And
One
so
we all know very well.
yeah, we all know, we do all know very well. I believe that for the current governor and the current secretary of transportation, we introduced ourselves to Secretary Miller really quickly and got to know him really quickly. For this secretary designee, if he is approved, we know him pretty well already, so that helps. But is there anything, Ms. Baynard, that you think we should do because as the secretary designee comes in, I'm assuming he'll be confirmed. We hope he'll be confirmed and those processes will run smoothly. Do you think what do you think should happen with the new secretary?
Well, with Secretary Designee Nick Donahue, who actually still has some work to do for the governor-elect. He is a co-chair of the Transportation Transition Committee, so he and I and Marianne Radcliffe still have some work to complete for the incoming governor.
Yeah.
Before that ends, I think really at this time, he knows us as well as anybody does. He was around when we got the money in 2013, and
he was also around when we lost the money in 2018.
Yes, he was. It is absolutely true. And so I am comfortable that I don't think there's anything, even on our primary issue of the overall transit funding across the Commonwealth. Yeah. Obviously, with him having staffed the DMV moves,
ask about that
effort and very knowledgeable at SJ28.
Yeah.
And so I think for us specifically about NVTA, I can't think of a thing we would need to tell him at this moment. I think if he had a question, he would certainly call any of you all or anyone else who's a member of the authority, because he's worked with you all for so long, has known you all. So I think, it's great that he has that kind of familiarity, both with individuals, but also us as a region.
Sure.
which I
Okay.
think is really important.
DMV moves passing the General Assembly is very important for us because that's funding. Secretary Designee Donahue would have, in his role in DMV move, been the person that lobbied and advocated for it in front of the General Assembly. That won't be him now. So will that be you, Ms. Baker?
Well, I mean, to be perfectly blunt, it's going to have to be all of us.
It's going to have to be all of it.
I
Okay.
think, every business organization, Northern Virginia Transportation Commission, Greater Washington Board of Trade,
Okay.
Council of Governments. I know, Clark Mercer was out at your board, Madam
was.
Chair, to briefing, and you all passed a resolution in
We
support.
did. The
So,
first board to do that.
Yes, as with everything we do in Northern Virginia, it takes a village.
It takes a village. Okay. All right. But he would have been from the DMV moves, between Clark, Randy, and Nick. He would have been the point person, right? Nick Donahue would have been the point
Yeah,
person.
probably, but I think
Yeah.
that I think there was, again, as we always see in Northern Virginia, it's the value of having multiple voices from multiple perspectives work
Okay.
towards the common goal. But there's no question, because Secretary Donahue is well respected and members of the General Assembly know him. So definitely the nitty gritty pieces of this, which are, as it always gets down to the nitty gritty and specific language and where the comma is and that sort of thing. Yeah, he would have been very much involved in that.
Okay. Okay. Well,
And still maybe. I think that, that's a little bit of discussion with our incoming governor and how she feels about all this. And that discussion is ongoing. She's got a lot on her plate, as members of General Assembly have a ton on their plate.
yeah,
So
they
it's
do.
going to be
Yeah, it's going to be a
lot
crazy
of
session.
lot of balancing of everything.
Well, Tracy, I will take your lead as chair of the authority as far as who you believe we should talk to. Ms. Backman and I should talk to, both for NVTA and for DMV moves and for anything else on transportation. And if you have any meetings you want us to go to, anything you want us to do, I'll take your lead and you just let me know when to be down there. I love that Delegate Sewell knows the heck is going on, right? It's wonderful. So, but whenever you might need, just let us know and we'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And for the two delegates who will replace Delegate Munyon King and Delegate Bouleva, if you need me to sit with them, to meet with them, to talk with them about NVTA, because I have no idea. We have no idea how that's. I mean, I know who's all running for all the seats. We all know that, but that doesn't mean we know how it's going to play out. We have no idea, right? And so,
Exactly.
so depending on who it is, I may be able to pick up the phone and call them and say, "Hey, listen." And then, but also I may not be able to do that. So we want to make sure those delegates, especially for 23 and 11, are kind of up to where we need them to be right away.
And they can
Right
see us
away.
now.
Yeah, no question. I think there will be at least an initial written outreach to whoever wins both those seats immediately and seek to have a meeting with them in Richmond as soon as they're sworn in. Because I think there's going to be likely a very short turnaround between end of their election, they get certified, and they're going to be in Richmond. Yay!
Well, I mean, if, and from what Delegate Sewell just said, it's a big if. If they get sworn in on the 14th, they get sworn in with everybody else, right, Delegate? Yeah. So they all get sworn in. So everyone gets sworn in together anyway. So if not, yeah, it's going to be much harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's no something. There aren't a lot of bills introduced yet, even though pre-filing has been open for a while. So in some ways, I'm not surprised. I think there'll just be a lot of bills dropped in early January.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Do any of the committee members have any questions for either Ms. Boehner or Ms. Sewell, if she doesn't mind answering questions? Are there any questions about any of that? Okay. I do not see nor hear any. All right. So with that, then I think we're ready to go on with the legislative priorities.
Right. And the document before you now is actually the same as it was in November. There weren't any comments that you all had. Again, our priorities are protect our own money, secure replacement of, we still are, again, 38.5 million short from where we were in 2018. And then the big piece of the transit funding across the Commonwealth, but particularly as it pertains to Northern Virginia, the ability to have additional net new money for transit that can be used for WMATA, VRE, OmniRide, local bus systems, capital operating, moving that forward. I know Delegate Sickles in public settings has talked about that he's trying to figure out, how to go about this. He's got some ideas that he is shopping around to his colleagues outside of Northern Virginia, in Northern Virginia. So he's moving on that. Have not seen the language yet because I think he's trying to be as flexible as possible until he can determine whether a consensus can be reached among everyone. If there's an opportunity for other regions to address some of their transportation needs as part of this, or education needs. Well, he's trying to listen to everyone. He's been working on this for a while. But again, it's at the very minimum, we need to find a way to find the $153 million to re-benchmark on the operating side. That is kind of an immediate need for FY 26.
That's our part. So, Ms. Brainerd, do you think
FY 27, sorry, FY 27.
Do you think, and Ms. Sewell, this is a question for you as well. DMV moves is basically just saying Northern Virginia, tax yourself, right? That's really what DMV moves. In the end, that's what it said. Northern Virginia, tax yourself and put that money in the metro. Now, whether I think that's the right way to do it, or the wrong way to do it, or think we should do it like Maryland, doesn't matter. The non-binding resolution came down to Northern Virginia, tax yourself. Delegate Sewell, Ms. Brainerd, do you think there will be any pushback against that at all?
Yeah, I think I think,
Really?
mean, because remember, Governor-elect Spamberger has run on,
Oh, God.
and members of the General Assembly on both sides of the aisle have run on the issue of affordability in day-to-day life. And that is a difficult place to be if you're talking about a tax increase. I mean, there's no other way to say that. And so you have very real concerns about how, inflation and cost of food, and healthcare premiums are going to go up for a lot of people, and what's going on with SNAP. So food insecurity, we all know what those are. And that is the environment that this session is set in. So you cannot discount what many of the newly elected members and the governor-elect have run on, which is dealing with the affordability of life.
But wouldn't the logical argument, though, be that if we don't get the DMV move money, then Metro stops and no one has jobs?
Well,
so there goes the affordability
it won't
question
stop.
out the window.
Yeah, but it won't stop tomorrow.
Sure.
I mean, by their own.
Bill Mendelson thinks it will, but yeah, you're right.
I know, but by their own information, that from a capital perspective, they don't need the funding until FY 28. So, I want us to push for what we want, but let's be realistic and let's not overinflate the consequences if we don't do it. I don't think that's fair to everybody, including us, right? So I want to make sure that we are thoughtful, consistent.
FY 28 is a year away.
No, it's actually 2 years away.
Well, no, it's not. No, it's not. Not FY 28, not 28.
Well,
but
actually,
FY
no, actually FY 28 is the statement.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm saying that's not that far away.
Yeah. So
Madam Chair,
there's literally 2 sessions before that happens.
Yeah. That's a point. That's a good point.
Madam Chair, if I could, we're watching this because, Maryland is saying they may not have funding for the next fiscal year.
You know what? They may not. Yeah. Oh, okay. You know what, they may not. Well, and also, of course, Phil Mendelson, the chair of the DC board, he pushed back, not because they didn't have funding, but because he wanted the amount to be the same, one third, one third, one third for all localities, which also, well,
And
heck.
that's a discussion that they can initiate at another time, but that's not what this is about.
Okay.
And that's his fight to fight.
Ah.
We're gonna have to start that conversation. But
I'm like, ah. I mean, we just did DMV moves for 18 daggone months. So, okay. Well, but you do think it should be in our legislative package, though.
absolutely. I mean, it's
Okay.
again,
Okay.
it is a priority.
Okay.
And it may take a couple of different steps to get there, but it's definitely a priority. I would never
Okay.
take this out. It has to be taken care of at some point, and not like 5 years from now. I'm not
Okay.
saying that, but
Yeah. Well, okay. Wow. That was a helpful answer that kind of level set me because I didn't expect that answer. I didn't. So
yeah.
that's good. No, I need to be level set because I've been all down in Richmond like, we're about to get this money. And then we've been completely shocked. So that was a very helpful answer that level sets me right now. So, okay. Then last question, and then and other committee members we may want to ask, is there anything, can you think of any questions now, or if you think of them later, we should be prepared to ask to maybe try to help us get there? I'm sorry, answer. Do you think anything we should know?
I think it's going to come down to why to do it in 2026. Again, within the environment of affordability and concern about that. Why does it have to happen now? What guarantees do we have that we're not going to be back in 5 years? Because remember, we just 2018 went through a whole sharing with the state, coming up with our share, our 154 million.
Because that wasn't bondable, sustainable money.
I know, but lessons learned. But that was just 5 years ago, or not 5 years. That was just 7 years ago. So I think being able to explain to regions that don't use Metro what we're really trying to achieve, what VRE means, local bus systems, and provide, giving them a sense of comfort that this time we've dotted our I's and crossed our T's. There's accountability attached to it. These numbers have been vetted strongly, which they have been, and that we're not.
There's a regional effort. There was the regional effort that's never been seen before.
Right. But from a Northern Virginia perspective, because again, remember, there's the DMVs, which is the Metro ask. But we as Northern Virginia have decided to go beyond that for a 400 million plus number.
Yeah.
Because of, again, our multimodal system has a lot of different parts to it. So, we need to convince the rest of the state that this is important for a variety of reasons, be able to articulate those, that it's grounded in facts and vetting and seriousness. This is not a ivory tower exercise. Public transit is wonderful. This is about tools that we need in Northern Virginia that support our quality of life, our economy, our ability to attract and keep companies and talent. And we really need to work on linking this to, particularly on an economic development perspective, the economic development elements that are common across the Commonwealth.
Also equity, also equity.
Equity for sure. The ability to move people around, people have choices, getting to jobs, getting to healthcare. Again, it is as we, the exercise we went through with HQ2 really continues. A lot of companies want to have a multimodal transportation system for their employees. Their employees are, they want to be in walkable, bikeable, public transit, don't always want to have a car, don't always want to be in a car use. And, you know, this is part of the bedrock of what we do in Northern Virginia.
Okay. Well, I'm seriously even more happy now that Nick Donahue's, going to be there because, yeah, gosh. Delegate Sewell or Chair Jefferson or Mayor Reed, does anyone else have any questions? Mayor Davis Younger, anyone else have any questions?
No questions. I will simply just share that Ms. Baynard did a really good job of describing some of the questions and challenges as far as the conversations to anticipate during this legislative session. When you first asked the question, I started jotting down some questions that I've already received and have been having as far as conversations with many of my colleagues, and accountability is always like number one. Return on investment and trusted data, just because of past experience, have always come up to the top, but how much and why now are of course where the conversation begins. So she couldn't have done a better job of describing many of the hurdles I anticipate.
The General Assembly is always such a different body than local government, and I'm always like, it's a different body. Let me ask you one last question, Ms. Baynard. Understanding what you just said, and again, thank you for level setting me, and understanding even more importantly, maybe what Ms. Backman just said, because it doesn't matter what we do in Virginia if we can't bring DC and Maryland alone. But having said that, Northern Virginia legislators, no matter who they are, have all pushed in and believe that Metro should work. And so this might be a question for you. If Northern Virginia legislators are saying to you all's peers from all other parts of Virginia, yes, allow us to put this tax in place so we can keep Metro running, what do you believe that response will be?
Sorry, you tailed off at the end. Do I believe that would be a response?
Oh, so if Northern Virginia legislators are saying to your other peers from all over the Commonwealth, we need to have Metro running and we need DMV moves to do that, what do you think their response would be? If Northern Virginia legislators are bought into DMV moves and the ask and what is in the non-binding resolution that we've now passed, what do you think that everyone else's response would be if you have all of Northern Virginia saying, yes, we need this, we need to do this?
Well, I think it goes back to the larger conversation around affordability and access. You have champions here in Northern Virginia, and then you also have individuals who are more focused on trying to generate revenue for the Commonwealth. Everyone has to play a particular role, so it's just not as clear cut. The best way to view the General Assembly is a host of singular subject matter experts, and everyone focuses their time and attention in a different area. So it's not that people aren't all bought in. It's just more of a conversation of where do we spend that next best dollar and what does that mean for their individual districts. So before they even have that united front in Richmond, it is more of like, what are the initial priorities for my community and how can I best allocate the revenue that the Commonwealth has available to assist my constituents. It's a host of priorities and everyone is just trying to figure out what's the next best thing to fund.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, but in that, then you look for commonality. And can you cobble together a coalition who have common goals? They may be in specifics a little different. So I'll say this from a transportation perspective, and regions, the three that I know of, we have Northern Virginia and our transit needs. The I-81 corridor, which still like to find some additional ongoing money to be able to not only finish their current tranche of $2 billion worth of projects, but the next tranche that would start in, around 2035, 2036. In Hampton Roads, which has regional money as we do, but because of the way it has been initially programmed, they're feeling a deficit around being able to address two different issues. One, their primary and secondary road systems. And then two, the issues around sea level rise, inundation flooding, and resiliency in their transportation system. So again, I think if I were to sort of do a sort of a list of what's going on, you got the affordability conversation. You still have the ongoing full funding for K-12, and we're re-benchmarking that this year, plus school construction. But you also have together three significant regions who do have some interest in finding net new money for transportation. Is that enough to get all of us collectively over the hump in light of the affordability, K-12 re-benchmarking, SNAP, Medicaid, all the other things? I mean, literally, that's probably in the bucket, the big five.
But Ms. Boehner, wouldn't the argument we would be making is we're not asking for that money from the state. We're saying let us tax ourselves, let us raise the money ourselves, and so it's not in those buckets.
But if you are someone who is laser focused on affordability, you are not going to see a tax or fee increase as a good thing. Don't care if somebody else wants it to tax or fee themselves. You are fundamentally going to be opposed to increasing the cost on everyday citizens. It comes down to that. And that is, again, that is a both sides of the aisle, message point and frankly, big part of their discussion right now.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, help me. Keep grounding me. Keep telling me this stuff. Keep helping me so that I don't go down there kind of too gung ho and DMV moves did our work and let's get this money and let's get these people on Metro. Give me the words to say. Help, just keep saying this stuff to me because I'm surprised at this conversation, to be honest.
Again, it's not backing away from our desire and our goal.
Oh, I know. No, I know.
Understanding the context
I got
of
you.
the conversations we're going to be
Sure.
had.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm really glad I've done this before I head down to Richmond. Because you and Monica be like, girl, sit down somewhere. So this was very helpful, to be honest.
Yeah.
So just keep talking.
It's December 11th. There's a lot of conversations that are going to happen between now and even the first day of session, crossover, getting through the last day. So,
All right. So before I make a motion to recommend to the authority that we approve the 2026 legislative priorities, is there anybody else who have any questions, thoughts? Anybody else shocked as I am right now? Is it just me? Just me, really? Just me. Okay, cool. All right. Then I will make that motion that we recommend to the authority the adoption of the 2026 legislative priorities.
So moved.
Thank you. Oh, that's a second from Ms. Jefferson. From Chair Jefferson. That's great. Chairman Jefferson. Any discussion on that motion? Does anybody oppose that motion? Then that motion will pass unanimously. Is there anything else we need to do for the good of the body before we jump on the full membership call? No? Okay. Then we are adjourned, and I'll see you guys in a little while.
Right.